Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive, AFC West, part 3 of 4. We talk West Side, LA Chargers. Wow, they got to redo this song, man. Los Angeles Superchargers. Los Angeles Superchargers.
Coming your way. They're going to dazzle you with their play.
Yes. I love it.
There's so many of those stupid sports songs that I know like all the words of. And they're not teams I ever rooted for. I think I know all the words for Go Cubs Go too.
Diego Superchargers. Rolls off your tongue definitely.
Well, and it's
than
like
Los
disco
Angeles
too.
Superchargers. I mean, I guess maybe the team in the NFL, what they think the most, the most sincere attempts to draw in the fans with their social media posts and their uniform combinations, and they're fighting hard for your attention, Los Angeles residents, and you're not giving it to them. No. So without further ado, let's talk about the LA Chargers, who made the playoffs last year under year one of Jim Harbaugh, and then fantastically and famously flamed out on the road against the Houston Texans in a game that kind of exposed all their flaws, all of their key weaknesses, all of their everything you hope, everything you hoped would not go wrong did go wrong. Justin Herbert, Andy, for the record, I think had 3.
I was going to say, there's a quick trivia question for the listeners. Time out. Stop. Don't. Okay. Did Justin Herbert throw more interceptions in his one playoff game or in all the other games combined? Because it's not what you think.
It's
crazy. It's crazy how much he put the ball in harm's way in that
crazy
game.
3 picks all season long, 4 picks against the Texanos.
Game. Good defense, and that's my main takeaway in looking back at their season was they put a team together that had a good enough defense, good secondary, good pass rush, good play all around, good defensive coordinator, and enough of everything else. Herbert was very good. The run game obviously was struggling at times, and they didn't have, and again, another feather in Herbert's cap, they didn't have skill position players at all. Quentin Johnson couldn't catch a ball. Good for Ladd McConkey. That was a great rookie season, but he was kind of it. The fact that Herbert was that good was, again, a feather in his cap. They had enough to beat bad teams, and they had enough bad teams in their schedule to get that many wins. When they went up against good teams, it often went awry. It just wasn't quite enough to compete with some of those teams on a regular basis, and they ran into a very tough defense that peaked at I thought that, you got to give the Texans their flowers there too. They played really well in that game, and beat the shit out of them.
One of the factors probably they were playing at home. Nice to have the home crowd support for that pass rush that's that violent. Certainly felt like the pass rushers were winning the day in general. They put Herbert in harm's way. And the other thing that was exposed in that, even more so than everything that could go wrong went wrong, is it kind of exposed to me that you just didn't have enough skill position players that mattered. You really didn't. And I think the fact that you didn't have guys that could get open, and or if they could get open, they couldn't catch the ball, a la Quentin Johnson, was ultimately keeping your ceiling very low. Which, I mean, I guess is kind of what we talked about yesterday with the Broncos. Like, if everything else is going great, but you just don't have those skill position groups, when you do find yourself heads up against an elite defense in the playoffs, that's where shit goes awry, and shit went awry. I would say that
sacked 4 times, hit a bunch of other times.
And I think he was constantly under pressure.
So, coming into the league too, let's say you're 3/4 of the way through that 2020 season, and you're seeing at that point, we're like, he's the rookie of the year. He is putting up sick rookie numbers. He's very good. And if somebody asked you, who do you think gets a playoff win first, him or Jaden Daniels? You would have to say, I don't know who Jaden Daniels is. It's 2020. Like I don't know who that is, and
Who?
it's crazy because he's 0-2 now in the playoffs. They did still, with the regime change and everything they had to do, it was still impressive to get that many wins, make the playoffs. And again, I will keep harping on this with the complete lack of like anyone but McConkey contributing in a meaningful way. Bad interior offensive line and most of the season, and a running game that kind of went with it. For a team that wanted to be that run first kind of mentality, it's you didn't have the names, you didn't have the bodies, you didn't have the people to manage that part of the game, and they still won a bunch of games. So we're going to be kind of critical on them for a while about certain things, especially coming into this season. But it's still not a bad team. This is still a top half of the league team for sure.
Of course, I would say they're a plus team.
Yeah, Mike Will already on the pup. Yeah, I saw that yesterday. Yeah. I looked for news yesterday, couldn't find anything today. The only thing I found was he's working through something. I love when they just will not even tell you what's, because it's not injury report season yet. You don't have to just say, he's not healthy. He's on the pup. Well, Jaden Daniels, the Arizona State quarterback, maybe in 21. I would have known that.
Yeah. Well, Jim Harbaugh and Joe Hortiz. Did you know that was the general manager's name?
Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh and Joe Hortiz came into last season with a plan to have a physical, tough, run first, block them, win your matchups in the trenches type of squad. And for those reasons, they didn't really ask Herbert to do much. They certainly scaled back really his roles, responsibilities, I thought. And that was one of the big reasons he had such a low interception percentage. And it's one of the reasons that they won games with ball control at times. They won a lot of close games. Ultimately, they exceeded their record of 11-6 with their score differential. Pythag was 11.3, so a hair to the good there. They ran a West Coast offense. Their win total was 9. They get 11, so they make their win total. And then over the balance of the season, it felt like this was a team that you could bet on. They were 12-5 against the spread. As favorites, they were 11-3. Really not underdogs very often at all. They had an easy schedule, and they were only dogs against Pittsburgh week 3, which they lost, which that game still gives me heartburn because I bet a shit ton of Chargers that day. And the Chargers, I think every single player besides maybe even including Herbert got hurt in that game. It was just an absolute disaster of a contest. They pushed against Kansas City in a game that they absolutely should have won. Don't know how that happened. And then other than that, they just weren't underdogs very often. They beat the Chiefs at long last week 13. Oh no, they lost to the Chiefs, but they covered at long last week 13. And then down the stretch, they were favored every game against a relatively weak home stretch of opponents before losing as favorites in playoffs. So wild little roller coaster for them. They were 9-9 over under, and overall, I thought when you look at their EPA per play, both offense and defense, it's really, really tough to square this talent that they had with how well they performed in those categories, which speaks to they had, I think, overall good coaching. Yeah.
Cal's making fireworks jokes.
I can't wait to get your opinion on whether or not Najee Harris is really, really good to go or not.
I think we'll probably see some camp footage today. I think vets report soon.
Oh yeah, so. Because they had the Hall of Fame game, so that's today, huh?
Yeah. So I think
they got a nice practice facility now.
Yeah, some Thunder.
Beautiful one. El Segundo, I think. Beautiful practice facility in El Segundo. This may be their second year.
Gotta get it. Gotta get it. I do like what some of these teams have done with like practice facilities because the buildings are so tall. Yeah. So you have to punt the balls in them. They just look so goofy. The Vikings when I drive by sometimes. The Chargers. All right. I don't have a lot left to say about last year. There were certain points where I wasn't sure if Herbert was as good as he was, but as I kind of reviewed the tape, reviewed the season, reviewed everything, he did a lot. And as I pointed out before, he did a lot with a little. He was great. He's probably like the 6th or 7th best quarterback in the league.
Okay.
And I don't know that he's going to get credit for that, or again this year, if somebody doesn't step forward, because it'll be like, hey, they lost another playoff game because they didn't have any wide receivers and they played a tough team on the road. Because again, it's going to be hard to win this division. I mean, how are you going to overcome the Denver Broncos to win this division at some point?
The Broncos.
Well, that's from yesterday. we made a
you got to
case
overcome
for
the Broncos and the Chiefs.
The Broncos and the Chiefs. So, if it turns into another playoff road game, like, oh, you're going to Baltimore, you're going to Buffalo, Kansas City, like, and they did draw. Yeah. They did draw Houston, which was one of the easier spots to go. It's funny, all three of the
3-point favorites in that game, man.
All three of the playoff games that started the AFC playoffs, that super wild card weekend, I think theirs was the closest. They lost like 33-12. I think the other ones were bigger blowouts. It was a bad first round of playoffs for the AFC. Like there was
the
just
Texans,
3 games where people just got the shit kicked out of them.
Texans are plus money line. That was one of my
it wasn't. They weren't the team that was supposed to get blown out. But when you have the turnover ratio that lopsided, obviously things are going to happen.
The offense was 12th in EPA per play. That felt a little incongruous with how weak their skill position group was. But as you mentioned, Herbert just did a lot with a little. Their defense finished 5th in EPA per play, which really does not check out. And so let's
good secondary across the field.
Let's check out. Let's check on some of their opposing quarterbacks. They started with Gardner Minshew, then Bryce Young in the game that got Bryce Young benched. Then they went with Justin Fields before Pat Mahomes, a young Bo Nix, Kyler Murray. Derek Carr was even the quarterback week 7 in New Orleans. Who knows? Who knows what was quarterback in Cleveland? Will Levis, presumably for Tennessee. Then Joe Burrow. Then Lamar Jackson in a game that they lost. And then the corpse of Kirk Cousins, another game against Mahomes. And then Baker Mayfield, Nix, May. I'm assuming Aiden O'Connell. Like this, there were some difficult quarterback matchups for this defense, but ultimately they kind of got a real favorable draw of opposing quarterbacks, I thought. And I feel like that's a lot of the reason that you can kind of point to them ending up with the 5th overall EPA per play on defense. Like I think much more realistically, this was a middle of the pack unit, and I don't have DVOA in front of me because it's paywalled nowadays, but I'm imagining those folks adjusting for strength of opponent, which I believe you ought to do. I think this was more of a middling unit.
Left my wallet in El Segundo. Defensive DVOA last year, they were 9th, which is closer to where I have this defense.
Okay.
For last year.
Okay.
And it's still fine. It's still a good defense. I think that's kind of where we're at with this team, where it's like, what you saw was maybe not exactly what you're going to get if the schedule a little tougher. Like you mentioned, the quarterbacks, that's a good point. I didn't lean into the quarterbacks as much. It's just like when they played a bad team, they beat them. And, you talked about that too, is like when they played a bad quarterback, the pass rush was plus. The coverage was plus. The scheme and the DC are plus, but they're not like top 5. But when you get to play Aiden O'Connell and you get to play, even Minshew at that time, and some of these bad quarterbacks you rattled off, it's just going to inflate those numbers in your EPA. And obviously, as I see from DVOA, they're a little lower. So it's kind of where it's at. And you lost some important pieces. Kind of kicking off the offseason stuff.
Yeah, hit it.
Poona Ford is a big loss because I don't know that he's replaceable.
He's not easily replaceable for sure.
No, well, that's the thing. Like to replace him, we would be saying, "Oh my God, they signed this guy, and everything's fine." Like they don't have we signed this guy in the DT market. So Poona Ford is definitely going to hurt. It's kind of both sides of the ball now. The interior and defensive and offensive line. There's going to be some inconsistencies and some problems with that, and we'll see how that goes with some of the things they did. But I do like that they addressed running back And I know, we're a little conditioned to be down on running back over the last few years. It's coming back, guys. It's coming back. But the way they want to, run an offense, you need some good running backs. So they got Najee Harris, who I'm going to assume is fine. We'll find out here very soon. It's like a $9 million deal. It's fine. And then they drafted a kid too, which
why are you assuming he's fine?
Because they came out and said it's superficial. I don't know, because I feel like it looks really bad if it's like, oh, by superficial we mean he lost both his eyes.
Well, I don't think he lost both of them, but he got hit in the eye, right? Like, I don't think we know one way or the other if he has any loss of vision in whatever eye got hit.
For my purposes, and I won't be making bets using this. For my purposes, I will assume he has vision. And I mean, we say that about quarter running backs anyway, but like normal, just people vision. And yeah, if I were Najee, I'd be rocking a dark visor, says Patrick. So I will assume he's fine for the purposes of this. We'll find out very soon. Amari and Hampton drafted in the late first round, the North Carolina running back.
That was enough draft capital that I kind of assume he's going to ultimately win this job and be the featured guy anyway. I
don't know. A lot of these teams are kind of in the way of, especially with rookies. Look what we did in Detroit with an even higher drafted running back, when they just said, hey, we're going to use both guys and we're going to take it easy on the rookie. And when if Najee Harris is fine, you can do that. And then neither of these guys has to have 400 carries on their ass, and you can split it. So I think that's probably fine. They re-signed. So re-signing is the wrong word, but Mike Williams is back.
He's back.
You know what I mean? He's back. As we mentioned, he's already
back on the pup list.
He's on the pup. He's 32. I'm not excited about this. Trey Harris, Ole Miss wide receiver draft, good. I assume there were some people that put him in the first round in some of the mocks I saw over the course of it. He was, he missed some time. He still put up some pretty big numbers. Big dude. He should be your wide receiver too. I don't know if he's going to be good or not, but he should be your wide receiver too, just because I can't make a case for anybody else on this roster stepping up and being like, I'm wide receiver too. So
it's a hot mess of other players here.
I like that. A hot mess of other people.
Yeah. Even tight end rooms, nothing to write home about. Will Dissly, Tyler Conklin, Oronde Gadsden. Okay.
Gadsden was a wide receiver, converted. He had a lot of catches his last year there in college. They used him a lot. So he is a strong pass catcher, wide receiver, tight end. So I think they're going to try to involve him in that, but we'll see what the offense looks like once we get into training camp here.
Well, there were two additions on the O-line that I want to point to.
The other big one is Becton for sure.
Yeah, Becton, bringing him in to play right guard, a player, by the way, where you spent a decent amount of draft capital drafting Zion Johnson, who's been a huge disappointment. Zion Johnson presumably moving to center. However, you also signed Andre James as the backup.
Remember him from yesterday?
I feel like, I feel like they look at the interior O-line and they're like, it needs to be better. We're not sure how it's going to be better, but we've got ourselves 4 pieces to fill 2 holes, right? That's kind of the way I read this. Is that right?
A party like that. Oof.
Yeah.
Zion Johnson, it sounds like the center, but you have Bozeman, Pipkins, James, Andre James, as we mentioned. He was your center / guard, in Oakland. And by Oakland, I definitely mean Las Vegas. They haven't been in Oakland for quite a while. So the interior line is still kind of messy. They drafted a kid in the 6th round. He was a tackle at Pitt. He's probably a guard. He's kind of a depth piece too. Branson Taylor. So they have a lot of Jags, and I don't mean Jacksonville. You got a lot of pieces you can fill in. But I mean, at least you got Becton. He's a massive dude, and you have 2 great elite, maybe not elite, but close enough to tackles.
I worry about the elite kind of qualification for these guys because they passed the eye test they're physical monsters, but I don't know. I didn't really feel like when they go on up against other kind of caliber first round elite type of players that they always get the win. And I'm not sure if
I want to do, and I want to give them some credit too, because it's a unit, and helping out guards that played as poorly as some of the guards played last year. You got to give them a little credit because they were still very good, and they still had whatever stats you want to throw at. And Rashawn Slater he's due up for. I think he's due up for a contract here soon. He's going to get some cash money. Joe Alt, we'll never settle the Joe Alt versus Malik Neighbors thing.
Alt was top 4 in OT pass block win rate last year, but the eye test just was not there. I don't know what I'm missing. As a team,
but I think like good defensive coordinators can say like, "Hey, they're weak in the middle, and why would we attack the outside edges and try to blast past these tackles when we can do other things and play stunts?" And then suddenly, the guard doesn't move fast enough, and the stunts all fucked up, and the tackle's in a bad position because somebody else messed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think that's where some of the grading
as a unit last year was 11th. The run block win rate overall as a unit last year was 13th. That feels right to me. Kind of middle of the pack on both. And I don't know that Mekhi Becton solves much of this, but helps give you. I think
it's better than what you had.
Potentially, yeah. So tough to say if I mean, I don't know. I guess everybody's kind of in the same position. I feel like who doesn't have much going on skill position group wise. Like you only have so many swings in the draft. You only have there's no really good free agent options. At least there weren't this year. Everybody that was good ended up just getting re-signed, sticking with their teams because it's a little bit of a premium in that right now. So I'm not sure what I would have done differently. But this kind of feels very similar to what we just said with the Broncos, which is maybe your quarterback's in a little better position than their quarterback, at least in terms of development. You certainly hope he's better because it's based on compensation, but I wouldn't say it's a guarantee. And then your offensive line should be good enough to get you home against all but maybe 4 or 5 teams in the NFL, and then your skill position group is going to consistently disappoint you, I feel like, unless Omarion Hampton is God, which he might be. Guy's big boy. So
he could be a lot of fun. Yeah, he goes
225,
man.
I have some high hopes that Omarion Hampton is very good.
Well, and not only that, but he's a good receiving back. And I think that's, if you want to keep comparing this to the Detroit thing where they had the 2 running backs, like it could be a very fun offense, even without a good wide receiver too. And I think that's where this team's ceiling is that Becton fixes a lot of the middle. The run blocking is just better based on he's 6'8", 380. Like he's the biggest freaking person I've ever seen. You get that with your elite tackles. You bring in some better running backs. And, if anybody pans out, if Trey Harris pans out, they drafted a kid in the 5th round too, fast as shit. Auburn kid, sub 4.4. I got to find him. Keandre Lambert-Smith. We need to kill KLS. Not a big guy. He's like 175. Little, but super, super fast. Maybe they have a fun deep threat that can actually hold on to the ball. He's probably your 4th or 5th wide receiver. If any of those guys trend up, this is a team that, you might have a fun 3-way race for this division. Like this could be a very fun division if things break right here and break right in Denver. So, I mean, there's upside, but the downside is like all those what ifs. And there's a lot of times where all the what ifs, they break 60% against you, win 9-10 games, such as
the defense looks pretty damn similar to last year with the absence of Ford and the absence of Joey Bosa. Right?
Morgan Fox, I don't know how you had him rated. He played interior to Bosa on the outside, like you mentioned. Bosa's such a big name and such a good player, but he wasn't ever 100%. Neither of them ever is. And he played injured. He missed times. They still have a bunch of edge players that I think are good. And yeah, that's about it. Obviously, they lost J.K. Dobbins too, but Ford, Fox, and Bosa were the big departures. We talked about adding. There wasn't like some D lineman that they fixed it with. They did sign Deshaun Hand. That's not Puna Ford. Same thing with Naquan Jones. It's just kind of a bunch of pieces. They're doing the Moneyball thing. We can't afford Puna Ford, but we can build him in the composite. And it's just, I don't actually think that's true because they re-signed T.R. Tart. They have a bunch of defensive tackles who are not big minuses, but they're not Puna Ford. And then the same thing goes with like defensive line. If they're healthy, these are big names. These are good names. But Khalil Mack is, I'm going to keep doing this. Khalil Mack's our age. He's not quite that old, but I mean, Khalil Mack has been around. He's fought some injuries over the years. You got Thule. Thule's young. He's shown some promise. Junior Colston on the interior, on the second level. Maybe this is a step up year for him. And then Kyle Kennard, draft pick in the 4th round. That's going to be probably rotational pass rushing. And Bud Dupree. Bud Dupree isn't young anymore, but Bud Dupree can be good. So I don't think it's going to be a bad pass rush by any means, even with losing Joey Bosa.
Okay, yeah, Khalil Mack and Derwin James provided a huge floor raising presence for this Chargers defense. I thought both of them, for me at least, had kind of borderline All Pro, borderline Pro Bowl type of seasons, and they were very available. Both guys available for 16 games. Joey Bosa was only started 9 games, and he did make an impact in those 9 games. He was valuable for you. Puna Ford was your fourth most valuable defensive player. So now you've lost your 3rd and 4th most valuable defensive players. One of them who would have been even higher potentially if he had been available for all 17. So there's reason to be concerned, or at least nervous. Ogbania for me graded surprisingly well. He is young.
Justin?
Is that his name? I have Otito.
Oh, I'm looking at Justin Aboigbe.
Otito Ogbania.
Oh, Otito Ogbania, the guy in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah.
3rd, 4th year guy.
Ogbania. Yeah. He graded really well for me, actually. This is only his 3rd year. And as a nose tackle, he could potentially help backfill what you're losing in Puna Ford. But I also don't know if his numbers graded well because Puna Ford was next to him for so many snaps, Tough to say.
It's always tough to say. And same thing with
6'4", 320. Big dude. Damn.
The same goes with the secondary. It's, Gilman, Hart, Still, and especially the young guys. So you had Derwin James. You had Derwin James back there, and then some youth. I mean, I think they were both rookies last year, Cam Hart and Tarheeb Still. So you had some second-year guys. You brought in Benjamin St. Just, who, I don't know, I saw some good, but for the most part, I think he's a net negative as a corner. That's another one where it's hard to grade because he played for the Commanders. It's like, how bad were you? Or is it just everybody was bad? It all looked bad at that time. But the secondary could take a tick up, I think, because you do have a couple of second-year guys that played a bunch. And you have really good safeties, and then Dante Jackson.
Yeah,
I don't know what's your grading on Dante Jackson on the other side there at corner.
I'm
veteran.
He was in Pittsburgh last year, right?
Yes.
Let me tell you. The rest of the secondary doesn't grade especially well for me. Spoiler alert. I don't know how they got the coverage grade that they got last season as a unit.
Yeah.
That's, again, kind of just goes to coaching. Jackson is he's not an upgrade over the other players that you got there. This last just barely a plus player as a cornerback. Yeah.
I think some of it's scheme and the fact that you get, Derwin's able to move around everywhere.
By the Nico Collins and the Jamar Chases of the world on your schedule this year. Yeah. You're going to have to score points to beat the good offenses, I think.
I don't know if he's like your CB1. It might be the second year guy.
Okay. Well, let's look at their schedule. You ready?
Yes. I was going to say, I don't think we missed anybody else.
We have a lot of blue, which means a lot of opportunities to take the Chargers in Survivor this year. If you're playing Circa Survivor, the pro football contest in the desert with the largest guaranteed prize pool in sports. You can also, of course, take the Chargers in Circa Millions vintage number 7. This was a team that covered regularly last year. You would have had a 12-5 head start on the field if you had taken the Chargers every single week. But they are favored, Andy, in a lot of football games this year, despite relatively meager home field advantage. How do you feel about that?
Especially I guess they get the extra day, and not everybody's super keen on Vegas, but kind of a shitty way to start the season. I mean, we saw that last year with the travel was goofy. God, who's the player that was like getting in trouble for shit talking Brazil? There was a cornerback. He had to like apologize so they wouldn't mob him on the way from the bus. I lost it, but that's the Brazil game, correct?
Yes. Sao Paulo, LA, and KC.
You got the Brazil game followed by a road game in Las Vegas. So you're starting in South America.
You lose your home game against the Chiefs. It becomes an international neutral game.
That's a really good point too. You've lost one of your home games because
it might have been a Los Angeles neutral game.
Yeah, that's the thing. You don't have. Oh, and that's the other part. You don't have a very good home field. I should look what my home field rating for this team was, because I think it's one of the lowest. Yeah, it's not very good. Both LA teams. So anyway, yeah, like Drew said, you lose one of your home games. It's the home game against Kansas City, which is pivotal if you want to compete, even for a wild card spot. And then it's a bad team, but it's a really weird, dumb travel spot coming back, having to play a primetime game at the Raiders there week 2. At least it's not double back-to-back but you do have to play Denver, which we're projecting to be a tough team. I think that's probably going to be a pick 'em once we get to week 3. A little bit of a respite, but cross-country trip to the Giants.
Yeah.
Which is that's one of those can't fuck around bad games. Like, hey, you can't have a letdown week here on the road. You have to get that one as a win. Home against Washington, which is a toughie. Again, cross country to Miami, which is not an easy game like the Giants, but it's still a team you're favored to beat, even on the road. I don't know what to make of Miami. I'm very low on Miami this year. I assume they get that win, but it's another one where that's a cross-country trip and a team that they could absolutely lose to. Indy's a game you have to win, but then it gets, it's very back and forth. Like, got to beat Indy. I don't know if you can beat Minnesota, even at home. Got to beat Tennessee. Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh feels like the quarterback situation is just so shitty. That's a win you got to have. And then that Jacksonville game is huge because that's a bit of a coin toss one heading into your bye. It probably determines if you're in the mix or not for the division.
Yeah, I think that's really
reasonable. That is a stretch after the bye. Like, that's a banger. You come off bye, you beat the shit out of Vegas, and then Philly, KC, Dallas, Houston, Denver.
Yeah, that home stretch is nasty.
Philly at Kansas City, at Dallas, at Denver. Denver again, we talked about this yesterday. Denver in January, outdoors for an indoor team. Get your Houston revenge game right before that. Philly, at least you're not going to the link, but it's a primetime game. Not great to end the season. So if you messed up a couple of those coin flips or got to have them favorites early on, this is a team where I think we need to look at their odds after the Vegas game on November 30th and say, what are their odds to make the playoffs right now? Start looking at other teams that are in the mix as well, because there's a decent chance I might want to bet against this team or bet to this team to miss the playoffs at that point.
Yeah.
Depending on how they've looked versus good teams. Because that was exactly what we started the podcast with. They struggled against really good teams. And they had it struggled bigly. Like there were some of those scores are pretty rough.
There's a common theme in this last 5 games, Andy. Philly, Denver, Houston. Those are your 3 best defenses in the NFL.
Yeah,
we don't know that. We don't know that, but probably. Dallas, elite pass rush. KC,
if either of your tackles is hurt, you're going 0-5 there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to stay healthy up front, and you got to hope the interior fixes itself a little.
You know who can generate really good interior pressure, Andy? Denver, Dallas, KC, Philly. Okay, Philly. So you get a healthy dose of really, really tough interior pass rush. KC, yeah. Good luck against Jalen Carter, Chris Jones, Micah Parsons, everybody on Houston, Zach Allen. Like, yeah, if your offensive line is in any way not fixed in the interior, by the time you get to that home stretch, you're losing some serious football games down the stretch, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we let nature take its course.
Survivor, is it simply the Vegas game off the bye, or are you looking at that Indy one? And I know it depends on.
I'm looking at that Indy one for sure.
That Indy one is nice.
That Indy one is very nice. Week 7. You're not sacrificing a ton of future value. Like
no, because after that, what is it?
You have to use
Tennessee
the Chargers.
Vegas,
I think you have to use the Chargers before week 10 at the latest. And I think that Indy spot looks the best to me. I would listen to an argument of week 2 at the Raiders, but I don't love using Survivor in division just because those games are just in general, guts are a little tighter, you know?
Depending on I think you can make a choice once you get to that week 7 spot and you say, maybe I'm using the Chargers against Indy here as a 6, 7, 8 point favorite. You see you got to look at 2 quarterback situations and how they're looking. The Indy one, obviously, because that's the game right in front of you on your plate, and the Pittsburgh one.
I think Minnesota, Tennessee, and Pittsburgh. You got 4 teams in a row there. Like they could all be in quarterback hell.
Yeah, Cam is like not getting it. He's possibly getting benched to save his confidence. JJ, same thing. We've never seen him play a snap. He might not be good. Yeah. I think that's the least likely because of just what he has. You know, he has Justin Jefferson and KOC. That's probably, but it's still. There's still a 20% chance he just stinks and is absolutely not the answer.
Yeah.
But Pittsburgh is the one that's eyeing me the most because if it's not going to happen with A-Raj, what's the next man up there?
Mason Rudolph.
And then you're a 7, 8 point home favorite.
Yeah, that makes sense. Aaron Rodgers, where is he come week 10? Is he with the team or has he been asked to leave for getting into a physical altercation with Art Smith over how many times Art Smith is asking him to run play action? That's the real question. No, I think you're using LA in that 7 to 10 window. I think you're best saving them. For Survivor purposes, you're hoping that bad spot at the Giants week 4 that they just stub the shit out of their toe and lose that one and knock a bunch of people out of Survivor. Because I bet you a lot of people are going to take that week, right?
Oh, I hate taking a road.
It feels like a good toe stubber. This team that is now 3rd week in a row on the road has already made a trip to and from Brazil, goes to Washington, to New York and plays early kickoff against a team with an excellent interior pass rush, Andy. Nice.
Yeah, they have a bunch of those. Miami's an early kickoff. The Giants are an early kickoff. At Tennessee, early kickoff. At Jacksonville, before the bye, early kickoff. And then at Philly, at Dallas are early kickoffs. The clock on week 17, this was discussed off air. That clock is pending. We don't know that could be. I doubt it because it's going to be in LA.
It would be a
that
10
game. That game
kickoff local time, which feels not correct, but
it's listed as 10 a.m. like Drew said. But that could be a Saturday game. That's going to be flexed around.
That's probably gonna be a flex Saturday. Yeah, I agree. All right, interesting schedule. I think there's long tail to the bad, honestly, with how many good defensive lines you're facing and some of the questions about your interior O-line. I definitely think there's scope here that this does not go as planned with all of these wins. 9.5 wins implied, by the way, if you're not looking at the screen. Interesting. Where are you number-wise with the Los Angeles Superchargers, Andy?
I think they're a good team. They're not great. And like you said, the long tail to the bad is probably there for them. It's, that's similar to a lot of teams, but we didn't even talk about Justin Herbert. What if that was the best year he ever has? What if there's some sort of drawdown from them? Same thing with 1 year sample size of Ladd McConkey. 1,200 yards, great year. What if teams are able to identify how they're using him and key on him, a little more? And suddenly they have to rely on these two rookies or Mike Williams, God help us. Like it could go poorly on offense. We got 2 new running backs, we're going to pose that as a good thing. Every argument, every article you point to is like, it's good. Those are better running backs. They are. We've never seen them in this scheme. We've never seen one play an NFL snap. Doesn't instantly translate. We don't know. So there's so many what ifs on the offensive side. And I think we're almost certain that the defense is going to take a half step back minimum. So for me, it's like the offense probably got slightly better. Becton's an upgrade. The running backs are an upgrade. You drafted some receivers.
Yep.
The defense is going to take a little step back. So they're pretty much in stasis with where I had them last year.
Okay. What's your QBOC number? Greg Roman, by the way, is still your OC.
I know. I don't know what to do with that because, I don't know if I love
not necessarily
doing.
Known as an innovator in the space.
No, but it's fine. It's been working. So 6.5, just because I looked at Herbert's numbers. I'm like, this is about as low as I can go, and this should probably be a 7. It's drugged down a little by Roman.
6.5 for me as well. We're exactly to the same decimal place there. Skill group for you?
4.
Whoa, wow, that's kind of favorable, honestly. I'm at a 3.
Really?
I'm at a 3.
I do like.
You like Hampton?
I like Hampton. I like Najee. I know he's a retread, and he's been, he could be at other places. If he was so good, why didn't they keep him? I think that's fine. The tight end room is a little iffy. I think Ladd McConkey's very good. And like I said, I like both running backs.
Slot receiver. Consider me cool.
It's worked. Well, I'm below average.
Okay. I'm at a 3.
I do like both running backs as receiving threats, which if they weren't, that would be even worse considering what you have for wide receivers and tight ends. So, yeah, maybe I'm a little high there.
I'm at a 3. Offensive line.
Offensive line for the LA Chargers is an even 5. That is a middle of the pack squad.
Okay, you're cool.
I thought this was going to be pretty much where everyone was at.
I mean, they were like 11th and 13th in pass block run block win rate last year, and they added Becton, and they're going to try to figure it out with their pieces. I think it's probably starting point is more like 6.5, 7. I went 7.
I'll go to 5.5.
Okay.
Because I did start this as a 6, and I just really, really, really don't like
any of the guys.
Because again, it's a weak link system.
Yeah.
And if it were like, I can live with the center, I can live with the other guard, I don't think I can. And as good as the tackles are, it just drags everything down if you have very big question marks at two of the 5 spots, and Becton coming into a new system. As much as I'm hoping that's a big positive, so I'll go to a 5.5.
Okay, I'm at a 7 there. Maybe I'm high. I'm assuming that they can get good coaching for that unit in general.
Were any of them hurt at the end of the year?
I don't think so.
Because
I think I had them all starting a lot of games.
My unadjusted offensive line number at the end of the year was a 4.7 and change. and that's not my rating, but I'm pulling in all the stats I can and trying to normalize them and look at where they rank against other teams.
Is this for pricing week 18 or pricing the playoffs?
Should be the playoff games because I updated any teams that made the playoffs into the playoffs.
Okay, I'll tell you a snap count who was what there, but I'm pretty sure it was Bozeman center, Zion, and Pipkins
and maybe
guard.
Maybe that's a fair price with those three plus the tackles.
Slater tackle.
Because Zion was rough.
Oh, they had Jamari Sailor involved. Jamari Sailor was involved, so Pipkins wasn't even playing guard. It was Sailor. I don't know. They were pretty intact. So you were just cold on these guys. Interesting.
I'm right. I'm actually I want to write this down because I want to. It's a different spreadsheet, a different set of numbers, a different whole thing. I got to go look at what I was looking at.
I'm projecting him as the 12th best offense based on the numbers we just discussed. Let's talk about the other side of the coin.
It's funny. I'm at the 12th best offense too because I have a skill position higher.
Yeah.
Run stop 4.5.
5.4. Okay. Same number practically. Pass rush.
Where is it? 6, just 6 flat.
Wow. 3.8 for me.
Really?
I think the subtraction of Bosa and Ford is meaningful.
So I had it as, it's funny too, my end of the year number from last year, 3.6.
So why are you up then?
Because they're healthy. I don't know. All right, I'll look at that. I'll drop that a half point right now, just because when we're way off, I'm usually off on something, but I'll take it down to a 5.5. It's still a good defense, I think.
At pass rush though, doesn't move the needle for me. Mac and a bunch of what? Thule, I guess.
Dupree and Thule are good. Good enough.
Oh, you think Dupree's got anything left? I don't know.
I think as a rotational guy, like he's playing like 25% of snaps. He's pass rush only kind of dude.
Okay. Coverage?
5.
I'm at a 5.3.
Yeah, that's a very strong safety and a very questionable group afterwards, although I don't see the two youngsters as big negatives.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think they have a ramp. I think especially Tarheeb still. I think he can be good as in the nickel slot guy. Cam Hart, Alohi, Gilman at free safety, and then, like we said, we have some other guys as depth. Don't love the depth in the secondary. Elijah Molden, who is hurt. R.J. Mickens, who was a 6th-round pick. This year is like your backup strong safety. And then, as Sam put when I brought up St. Just, I got to find this comment. I think he said St. Just was the worst. Here, a little behind here, but Benjamin St. Just is the worst starting quarterback I've ever seen in my life. He was on a team where he didn't have a lot of support in the secondary. He was struggling. Like I said, I didn't know if that was he's him or if
he's depth though.
Well, but I'm saying the depth is shit at in secondary.
All right, this is my 19th best defense, which is a huge step backwards from last year. Although, again, last year I had them more like 9th, 10th, not 5th, as EPA per play suggests. So 19th defense for me. Coaching for you, intangibles?
6.
4.5 for me.
Harbaugh, I like the rah-rah. I think it was a good locker room. I think he is a good leader, good coach, good delegator, obviously with what he had Minter doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a big part of that as well, though. But yeah, he's certainly not a plus when it comes to forward thinking and analytics.
Yeah.
I have trouble saying he's a below average coach / leader when it comes to everything, but he's certainly not, way above average. So I'm going to have that as 6.
Okay. Do you think it's a plus or a minus that he wasn't going for on 4th down, considering he has a quarterback that can't convert a sneak to save his life?
That's the thing. Like he has that going, and the interior was so bad. Like, why try sneaks? I guess you could do other things. There's more plays than just the sneak on fourth down.
Yeah, I guess so. They only attempted 16 fourth downs all season, converted 10 of them. I'm imagining most of those 10 conversions were somehow scrambles or screen passes or something else, not QB sneaks, because that is one of the key weaknesses of Herb.
That was something too, real quick before we do finals here. When I looked at Herbert's numbers and I looked at how I felt about the team before I dove into it deep, I'm like, God, was he checking off more, or was there a lot of underneath stuff that is that what I remember? And he was good pushing the ball down the field.
Yeah.
Again, by no means getting help from his receivers.
That's where he's the strongest, I think.
There was a bunch of drops. He has an amazing arm. Well, I know he has an amazing arm, but as far as the game plan and how it went, no, he was pushing the ball down the field plenty. And as far as like big time throws, or however you want to grade some of the throws, 10 plus, 15 plus, 20 plus, and it was all very good. It just, they didn't probably do enough to help him in the receiver situation. And even if you get a great season from him again, it's so hard to overcome a really, really good team when it comes to nut cutting time, which is basically the playoffs start in week 13 there.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe they'll be the sharpened spear, or maybe they won't be in at all. I like the idea of miss the playoffs. Okay. Special teams. 5. Okay.
Yeah. They're middle of the pack in special teams DVOA. Hey,
you know what though? That's huge improvement over the previous regime.
I know, that's the thing I joked about. I looked at a little.
They were a 1.
Yeah, Dicker the kicker taking and J.K. Scott, the guy who plays the M&M in the commercials, as your punter. Darius Davis returning kicks with a bunch of other guys. Jalen Rager's on this team, I think.
For now.
Yeah, he's looking like the 8th best receiver. So there's a lot of players that are on this team right now because they're allowed to have huge rosters.
Final rating for me for the Chargers is a 1.38. Andy?
1.43.
So
I'm a little keener on them than you.
Said and done, we're right there together. I was a 1.45 for Denver. So I mean, we're at splitting hairs here, but that's my 14th and 15th.
My Denver was 2.32, if you remember. So
you're
almost a full point better.
You got some daylight. You got some daylight there. Mm-hmm. I'm narrow between those two. Realistically, Chargers have any kind of path to win the West, do you think?
Yes, they do.
You're not getting as good of a price, and I feel like the path is a little tougher than the Broncos. Am I crazy?
Well, and a lot of the schedule's so front loaded with, a lot of the easy games they're not back to back to back, but there's a bunch of them in the first 8 to 10 weeks. And I don't know that price improves by a bunch. And there's like some clear entry point on, now's the time to grab the Chargers, especially as we talked about with that murderer's row at the end of things.
That week 3 game is who is your, that will codify in the marketplace who is your outsider that could win the West, right?
Well, and that's the thing. So the win total, what is the win total on them right now? Is 8.5, 9.5?
9.5.
9. So there's a damn good chance they beat the Vegas Raiders on week 13, and they're like 8-4, 9-3, something along those lines.
Yeah,
and you got to sweat your balls off
those last 2
5
wins.
weeks.
Yeah,
even if you just need one win at that point, you're like, is there a cash out button? I'll take 80 cents on the dollar here.
That puts pressure on a lot of people's jobs if they lose their last 5. By the way, that becomes a little messy.
Who would be the first to go? It would have to be Roman.
Harbaugh's not going for sure. It's Roman's getting fired at that point.
That is. Let's go to that worst case scenario. This team is like, let's say they have a losing record. Let's say this is an 8-9 team at the end of the year. They struggle a little bit. They get to that last stretch, get the shit beat out of them. Clearly outscored by some of those good offenses. Roman does feel like the easy, hey, let's throw an OC under the bus because they've committed long-term to Harbaugh. That's not a hot seat situation whatsoever. Minter, there's built-in excuses. You lost one of the biggest names on the defense and Puda Ford. And I think they're probably happy enough with him. The GM, too. The GM's only been there, 2 years? This is his second year.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's like a big turnover.
Nobody even knows his name to call for him is firing.
I know. I think it does turn into we need to find an OC that works with our quarterback because this is clearly the quarterback of our future.
Before prepping for this podcast, did you know that did you know the general manager's name?
Ortiz?
Yeah.
I remember it from last year because it was one of those where we talked about it.
Could you come up with it in the blind though before prepping?
No. When it popped up, it's the same as like the Jets. Can you name the Jets GM?
No. He's new. He's brand new though. That's not really fair. This guy's on year 2.
Muji, that's what it was.
This guy's on year 2, and as I was reading and prepping, I was like, who? Ortiz? Wait, that must have
Ortiz.
That can't be GM. Oh, it is. Oh,
yeah.
Oh. I'm assuming you pronounce the H. Maybe you don't. Maybe it is Ortiz.
Oh, Ortiz.
Yeah.
Ortiz. The emphasis is on the first syllable.
Ortiz. The W in horror is silent.
Terrible. It is tough to get excited about this win total. It's tough to get excited about this team to win the division. And like you said, there's a chance to maybe bet against them if the price is right to miss the playoffs later in the season. And all of this is like my 12th best team, you guys.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like they're well in the mix of this should be a playoff team. They have enough. They have the quarterback, which is the biggest piece. I think they have the coaching staff for the most part. Like they have a lot of the big building blocks. They're in a tough division. The schedule sucks at the end. And there's some big what ifs where, I think this team grabbing like the 5 seed or even, vying for the division. What does that look like in your mind? Like what has to go completely right?
All of the blue chip players have to be like, oh, they're really good, right? Like I think that's kind of what you come away with, like, oh my God, like Alt and Slater are so good. It doesn't matter on the interior. Like they're handling their load plus some, right? Like, they've done a phenomenal job of finding diamonds in the rough in the skill position group. And all of a sudden this offense has an entirely another level that we didn't see coming.
Yeah.
The defense didn't take a step backwards, losing 2 of their 4 most important players.
I think
I don't know.
The two things that have to happen.
I'm not convincing myself of any of this.
Well, that's the thing. Like the 2 things I would think have to happen is like Trey Harris is good right away. Yeah, he is a sneaky rookie of the year candidate that is like the 5th choice at the end of the year because he was like, man, this kid had like 1,000 yards. He was a big part of this offense. He is good immediately. Same thing, I think most people assume Hampton will be good. But at the same time, I think the secondary outside of Derwin James is a bunch of guys that we aren't seeing them taking some huge leap to be big time plus players. If 2 of those 3 corners at the end of the year are like, hey, they another year in the system, another year with Minter working with Derwin James, like these are good corners right now. This guy's a top 10, top 15 corner. If 2 out of those 3 are somewhere in that range, then just by default, your pass rush is that much better. And the defense may not take a step back. It takes a step forward. If those 2 things happen, 11, 12, 13 wins. Like,
I gotta say, I honestly think a good year for the Chargers isn't really that likely or possible because that is your winning playoff games, really. Like it's not going to feel like it's a good year if they win 11-12 again and go to the playoffs again and then lose in round 1 on the road. Like it's not going to feel like
Baltimore beats them by 15.
And so I don't even know if there's really any surprises, diamonds, growth, improvement, year 2 Harbaugh magic. I don't think anything really is going to move the needle to the good enough for them to be, toe to toe with the elite in the AFC, which means it's kind of external right? Good year with the Chargers is they just do what is expected of them, but a bunch of other teams lose players. Players take steps backwards. Like shit goes off the rails for other reasons that you didn't see coming. Like it has to be a little bit of like a year of chaos, and they step into the void for them to feel like they have a year that is equal or exceeds expectations at this point. So I don't know. I don't think there's upside in playing this team this year. And I think maybe the best bet is kind of, again, to bring up Sam again. Like, I think our best outcome here is that things really do go pear-shaped. They fire Roman. They double down and get some skill position players that matter for next year. And year 3, they're a little bit of a surprise to the West. So, all right. Their make-miss playoff price misses plus 125 right now. I think that gets bigger based on how easy the start to their schedule is, and I'm gonna set a note.
Should we do the calendar thing again? Where it's like, remember when we got the one that said bet the Cowboys?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it December 1st after they have just hung a nightmare beatdown on the tired Raiders, and after they've come off of their bye. The playoff no for the Chargers is going to be like 3 or 4 to 1, and then we get it done. But the Chargers playoff no on December 1st. December 1st. I'll remind you.
I've set a calendar reminder.
Yeah, I'll remind you that Monday Night Football halftime show or that Monday morning Deep Dive Daily if we're doing them.
Yeah, we need to set more of these calendar reminders.
Yeah,
we should set like at least 5-6 more of these throughout this, because these are either they're money makers or they're hilarious
or they're content generators. Yeah, one of the two.
Yeah.
No, I think the we'll get one out of every division for sure. But the clear and obvious one for this team in this division, I think, is Chargers playoffs no December 1st set. Yeah, set reminder. Just for completeness sake, the Chargers are only 25 to 1 to win the Super Bowl. Not there. The Chargers are 12 to 1 to win the AFC. For that to happen, you need chaos. Otherwise, to win the AFC West, we already talked about. They are plus 321. Much prefer plus 362 for the Broncos, who have similar rating and more surprise upside, whereas the Chargers to me only have surprise downside. Stage of elimination, not worth really considering. I don't think you're looking at a DPOY, OPOY, MVP candidate on this team at all. However, I did bet Hampton Rookie of the Year 15 to 1. I want to say. Let me see what my number is. Season futures offensive Rookie of the Year was locked yesterday, which was kind of interesting. I don't know why. Hampton, he is down to 11 to 1 at Bookmaker, which is, I think, probably closer to right. I'm at plus 50. I'm in at plus 1522 on Omarion. So I guess I'm not cheering that hard against the Chargers. Hopefully he leads them to a stunning 11-1 record by the time that alarm goes off, and we are like, do we really want to bet it when their probability to make the playoffs by math is 95%? I don't think so.
Yeah. And that's, I think besides that, the other bull case is just, it feels like he's going to split too many carries and just not get the volume needed to do it.
Well, I kind of think I kind of would rather Harris is limited but available so that you can kind of spell him a little bit. But otherwise, he's the feature, right? He is
and was a 3-down back, but the fact that they got Harris as well just makes me worry that you're just not going to get the carries to get into that discussion.
Well,
I don't know if you guys have hot takes on that. Obviously, leave them on the comments or hit us on Twitter. Also, just because I know some of you guys are doing this as well, and do this earlier, I'm saying this with like a minute to let go in the show. If you are making power numbers for these teams as well, I'd love to hear where you guys are at.
Yeah,
even
of course.
if your systems are a little different. That's very interesting to us to hear if you're higher or lower and reasoning why. So hit us on Twitter.
Actually, here's a specific invitation.
Reply to the deep dive account.
Yeah, if you are not able to catch these shows midweek, midday, and comment live, that's fine. Plenty of other ways to reach us with your power ratings. I fully invite you to the Friday morning Deep Dive Daily, where we really don't have any other content other than Wine of the Week. So we'll happily put you up on screen, and you can tell us your power numbers, your order of teams for these divisions, and why we're wrong. I love a dissenting opinion. Love it.
I will be broadcasting live from the 3-season porch at my in-laws.
Hell yeah. Friday morning?
Yeah, we're going to, after the podcast tomorrow, I am leaving town, heading to South Dakota.
Beautiful. God's country.
Yeah, it's going to be, got to go pick up the kids and hang out with some in-laws for so yeah, Friday. Check it out. We'll be there early morning, 9:30 Central Time.
See you tomorrow for the Chiefs.